Hey everyone, welcome to the 541st episode of Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing. This episode is brought to you by patrons Matthew Jacob, Udo Poots, and Courtney. I'm Oren Kaplan.
And I'm Matt Enlow. Today it's a Matt and Oren catch-up episode. We've got so much stuff going on, which feels good because it's been a slow summer and now we're both overwhelmed, maybe? Yeah, on the verge, thriving.
I mean, it's funny because I have this 6-day shoot. Well, I have a 4-day shoot and a 2-day shoot in the same week. A Saturday to a week later, Sunday. But I booked them so long ago that I feel like the excitement of having a shoot coming up, I've already spent that excitement in like June, So now we're in August and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll wake up tomorrow morning and go to work. But now that the kids are back in school, people are back in the office, people are working again, we not only are we kind of back in business, but so are the agencies and the clients and all the people that are deciding what to market for the rest of the year. And so we're having a few more meetings, more pitch meetings, submissions, making reels. And we are also just doing vibe checks, which I know we've already covered extensively, but you just had a recent one and you had some insights on it.
Yeah, I think this is like, maybe you could think of it as a follow-up topic to our previous episode on vibe checks.
Like there is a lot of overlap between of what we're calling a vibe check and just pitching yourself to be working on a project.
A general meeting for sure. Yeah.
Or even like an interview to work for someone on something.
And, I think the last time I re-listened to that episode, so just about a year ago, basically we did that. Okay. And since then, I have had a lot more quote unquote vibe checks, some of which were successful and some of which I was not successful.
I did a vibe check with you the other day and I was like, not for me.
God, this guy, should I keep podcasting with him? I don't know. But I think that on a recent one that I knew was very competitive, I put together a checklist of things that I wanted to do and things I needed to think about. And I'm kind of in a zone now where I'm thinking a lot more seriously about the structure of my treatments and have kind of like worked with a few new designers recently and started making, the template, here's the Google Doc of how I like to do it. This is the way every single one of my treatments is going to be structured to start with.
And it's called the Matt-efasto.
Yeah, that's right. The Matt-efasto, the Matt-efasto. And so I'm trying to do
Luckily, 50% of directors are named Matt. So that's a great name.
For sure. Yeah. I had a meeting with a Matt yesterday. But I'm trying to make a template for the vibe checks as well. So I thought that would be the thing that we could go through. But the big unlock that I had on a recent one, as I was doing it, I realized, this is all of the stuff I would just say in a pitch. I just didn't have to make a treatment. But you kind of still have to do all of the homework of the treatment. Maybe you even pull a couple visual references for the look and feel and tone, but you still have to think through all of those topics that you hit in a treatment, right? And that when I decided to think of it as a pitch without the treatment rather than a vibe check, I think that really kind of helped solidify my personal perspective on how I like to do it. Because, and we talked about this in the previous episode, I have always found the title vibe check or chemistry read to be so misleading because it's not just do we think we're going to get along with this person. That's part of it. But the vibe we're trying to get is whether or not they are capable and prepared and have awesome ideas that we like.
Right.
Which
are
is
they
the
good
same
fit?
thing as a pitch though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a pitch is a vibe check too. If you seem sour in the pitch, then maybe we don't want to hang out with you. All of that energy that you're bringing is essential no matter what. But I'm really, you and I have hosted a podcast for 541 episodes. Obviously we love process.
Let's say you were checked in about 200 of those.
Sure. Yeah. Give or take. I was paying attention to some of them, but we love process and we love to talk about how you make something. And I have realized recently that the how is less important to a lot of people, right? Maybe because they're ignorant of it, or maybe because the what is more important to them. But regardless, pitching the what we're making, not the how we're making it, is my number one focus for this year. It's the big change that I've had. And so that's like a good segue into one of the big things that I have to ask myself when I'm going into any sort of meeting. The number one question is, what is the one single thing that will make this great? And it's something a producer asked me when he saw the first draft of a pitch that I put in. He was just like, this is all really good, but like, if you lead with, this is the thing, this is the big idea, and say it outright, say like, hey, I love this. This is really cool. What will make it great is if we do this, and here's how we're going to do that, then you're good to go. Right. And I think it's an oversimplification for sure. You always care about the sound design and the music and all of the other parts of the craft. But then if you can say the number one thing with confidence, with a full chest, I think that inspires confidence in you, basically. And then it's all just about reiterating why you're the person who can do it that way specifically. You know, people are looking for answers.
Yeah. So my wife's old boss used to say, she would do a lot of kind of red carpet type like interviews or go to parties, interviews people on little docu-style, and she would always say like, well, what's your angle? Right? Which is another way of saying it. And it's difficult for us, especially when people are coming to us with storyboards and with scripts and with data and focus groups and messaging and comms and AI story, like animatics and all that stuff, for us to be like, well, this is the big idea, because they've just come to us with this thing they've been working on fully formed for so long. And it's just, to what you're saying, we have to remind ourselves that if we don't have an angle, then there's no reason to hire us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, to take a quick pivot, you sent me an email earlier today about like the newest version of Seed Dance. By the time people are listening to this, or if they're listening, if this is a little bit older, we'll be on Seed Dance Infinity or whatever. And you were like, oh, this is so depressing. And I got depressed for a second as well. And then took a step outside and thought about it. And I thought, oh, all of the shots looked incredibly real and really uninspired. They looked real, but they looked so generic to me. And it's kind of the reason why I'm a little less worried about the AI of it all than you are. And it's because I haven't seen something with a real take yet. I'm not saying that's impossible, but like, you know, the take, the vision is the important thing. And that's the what, right? And the how is gonna evolve like it always has, right? It used to be film, and that, you know, and now we shoot with fancy cameras, and also now people love to shoot with lo-fi old school cameras, and all of those looks can be replicated a bunch of different ways. But the what is still the what of it all. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, to me, the reason it's depressing is not because of the what versus the how. Like, of course, if you take a really good brief and make realistic looking shots that have an angle and a take, and make it look like VHS tape, or make it look like 35 millimeter film, or whatever you do. Yes, what makes the ad good is the what, it's not the how. But our job is, we get paid largely for the how and for the execution, you know?
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both, actually. Yeah. I think
would you say you get paid significantly more for a 10-day shoot than a 1-day shoot?
Well, sure. Of course. Yeah.
Okay. And that's where the how comes in, you know? It's like, how long does it take? What resources do you need? How much money? All that stuff. When the how becomes not like irrelevant in terms of when all the resources are just put into the what instead of the how, then that's where our jobs and the people that we hire, the cinematographers, the gaffers, the wardrobe costumers, you can hire a costumer to come up with costuming.
Yeah, I think I'm disagreeing though. I think that that's all what, right? Right.
Sure, we can agree that. I think certain things move the needle more than others, but yes.
Right, but what I'm getting at is that, like, getting back to the vibe check of it all, everyone can think of the generic, easy, simple way of making the spot, right? Like the first thought version, I think most good directors could come up with, and most creative directors, right? And so, but figuring out the specialness is the trick. And it's interesting. I'm dealing with this right now on a spot that I'm about to go shoot. There's a real elegance and simplicity to it. A lot of the work that I get to do is dialogue driven. So it's like more or less like two people talking to each other. And you could do that the really simple way of just kind of like locking off the camera, or maybe it's on a slider that, glides back and forth to give it a little bit of dimension or whatever. And then you just kind of cut between the two people and you make the performances funny. And that's the really simple way of doing it. And if you want to plus it somehow, like you can turn the volume all the way up to 11 and shoot it like Michael Bay would, and like give it a Dutch angle and like shoot like super wide lenses, like low vantage or super telephoto lenses or whatever it may be. That doesn't feel appropriate for most of the work that I do or you do. So finding the simple version at the other end of the slider, but that's still plussed a little bit, plussed in an elegant way, in a thoughtful way that makes it special is pretty challenging,
Yeah.
Like simple but not boring is really hard.
I always try to just move the actors.
Sure.
The Pope in the pool solution.
I feel like you've said that to me once or twice. I don't know what that means.
The Pope in the pool. It's from Robert Evans' book, I think. The kid stays in the picture. I don't know. It might be like a Godfather scene. There's some movie, and I apologize to our listeners for not knowing, but there's some movie where there was this long scene with the Pope giving all this exposition, and it was a really boring scene. And everyone agreed that was going to make this movie that this was a boring scene, just listening to this guy give exposition. Like, can we have him be doing something interesting while he's talking to us? And they're like, well, we've never really seen the Pope swimming, like doing exercise in like a lap pool. What if we just put the Pope in a pool while he's giving us this exposition? And that makes the scene more interesting. Now, it looks like you've looked it up while I'm talking.
I've looked it up. So it's popularized by Save the Cat.
Oh, okay, maybe that's where
And it originates from a script called The Plot to Kill the Pope.
Yeah, so people watching are busy thinking the Pope has a pool, the Pope is in a swimsuit, so they do not get bored by the talk. Google AI. To me, that's like, especially if I have a celebrity, like my least favorite thing is putting them on a stool and in front of a white background and shooting a medium shot of them. So to me, that's like before Sunset, all those movies where it's like, well, let's just have people walk. There's the other solution that a lot of people do that is way harder than you would think, which is put people in a car and drive around while they're having that conversation. But it's when you have a client in an agency, that's one of the hardest things to shoot, unless you're using a video wall, and then like, why even do it?
Yeah.
But so you were talking about
my checklist. Yeah.
Oh, right. Finding literally an angle.
Yeah, find the take. Yeah. That's the big, right? But then also like, find out who you're meeting with, right? Do a little bit of research. And the reason I like to do that is inspired by you. You like to ground your treatments in a personal angle at the very beginning. We've talked about that on the show many times. Secret sauce. But if you can do like just a tiny bit of research of like, what school did these people go to? Where do they live? Do they have kids or not?
What's their mother's maiden name?
Right. Yeah, exactly. What's their social security number? Where do they bank? All that important stuff. You can just to find a little way in with them, right? Because inevitably this vibe check, you're going to get on and the creative director is going to be late, right? So you're going to have a couple of...
Yeah, Michael can't make it. But we've got the accounts person.
Or hold on, I'm slacking him right now. I think he's in another meeting. He'll be here soon. Right.
Yeah. And you have no idea if you're going to have like 5 minutes or 50 minutes.
Right. And so having a little bit to talk to them about, and sometimes I'll even say like, oh, hey, I'm doing a little bit of research and I realized, oh, we went to the same school together. Did you have so-and-so or whatever? If you don't have something top level like that, you don't want to be creepy. Right. You don't want to be like, oh, I saw 6 years ago on your Instagram that you went to the Bahamas. I've been there too. That's weird. But like, the top level stuff of like, oh, I saw you worked at this place, or we have this friend in common, or whatever it may be, is always kind of helpful. And then that's an easy segue into, your personal connection, which is worth thinking through as well. And then early on, I make the mistake of asking this question too late. So I put it high on the list. And it's something that we've talked about before, but just like getting the positioning of like how they feel about the boards at this moment. Because there's a pretty big spectrum of like, sometimes they love them. And sometimes it was the fifth idea and they're a little sad that the client picked that one.
Mm-hmm.
And that can give you the perspective of how you're supposed to be calibrating your ideas and your pitch from then on, right? Like, are you swinging big? Are you reinventing things? Or are you kind of plussing something that they already love and just like kind of embellishing what they have laid out for you?
That's when obviously the perfect answer is like, oh, I totally get how that can be not that fun of a concept, but what if we approach it like this, and bring new light to it?
Right.
Like,
but you don't.
What if we shot it all on an Insta 360? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But if they love it, then you don't want to like throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
I have a question for you because
you keep saying that, throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I don't know what you're referencing.
Somebody said that to me once. Do you know what that means? Are you doing a joke?
Is it a Noah's Ark thing? I mean, not Noah. Is it a Moses being put into the Nile?
No. I think it's just, I've said it for my whole life, so I don't know where it truly originates. But I think, you just should wash the baby in the tub and you get rid of the water, but you don't want to throw the baby out too. You keep the baby and throw out, so you're not throwing the whole thing away. You're keeping the stuff that's important to you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, back in the 70s, man, they were really
just
throwing things away without thinking about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, throw the baby into the compost pile. Anyway, we have talked about this one before, but I think it bears repeating for sure. Asking what you're most excited about to see on screen, and then what you want to see spelled out or you're worried about a little bit. Now, how do you phrase that question, Oren?
Well, a lot of it depends on, I don't know if in a vibe check they're presenting the boards to you or not.
Yeah, oftentimes, yeah.
So if they're kind of telling you about the project and where it's coming from, then I try to say, well, you mentioned that, our set isn't going to be we're only going to have like a white cyc instead of a set. Is that something that we could address with like visual effects, do you think? Or like building like a 2-wall, like an abstract stylized set? How do you guys think about it? I'll kind of like try to soft pitch like a very like obvious fix, and then I'll kind of ask them, or is there anything else that, I mean, right now, if I know I'm going to write a treatment, I'll just come right out and say like, hey, obviously I'm going to talk about this and this and this and this in the treatment, the stuff we've discussed, but is there anything else that like, if you were me, you would focus on? If you wanted to win this job, like what should I do to do it?
That's great, because the reason I asked you is like, when I say like, sometimes I've said like, what's keeping you up at night, or what's worrying you, or like what do you want me to think through? And they all have like a little bit of a negative connotation to them. Like, it's not that they're worried about it, but they are, thinking about a certain aspect. So I think phrasing it that way is much better than the way I've done it.
Yeah. And what I found like works well, not just in pitching yourself for a film, but in every interaction when you're hoping that somebody hires you or wants to work with you or like likes you or whatever, is the like, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? Because it kind of forces them to give you the answer of what you should be doing.
And that's great. I love that. Then the rest is like having tiny ideas. So the big ideas I think are helpful, and those can be, maybe you save them for the treatment, or maybe they kind of come out in conversation. But having like really specific pitches about like moments in the script, because you alluded to before, oftentimes we're kind of walking through the boards, and sometimes it's just a monologue from them, and sometimes it feels more appropriate to kind of pepper in questions or approach or all of that stuff.
I try to interrupt them. I mean, not in a rude way, but I try to give feedback, even if it's just like, oh, cool. Like, all right, I love that. Or unless they seem like they're not enjoying going through it and they want to get to the end and they're in a hurry, then I'll just like,
sure. Sure.
But
or if it's something, it's a quick drive through or something.
Yeah. And this is super obvious when I say it out loud, but I bet some people aren't good at this. Like I make sure to be like looking at my webcam, sitting down, not typing, not looking, not petting my dog, not drinking my coffee. When they're presenting to me, I'm like my number one job. I'm like, I'm doing a performance of me listening to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Showing active listening is a skill that I think that nowadays they teach kids, but it was something worth reiterating. Definitely. The reason I said having tiny pitches is because the thing that I'm ultimately trying to establish with this vibe check is that I have ideas that we are going to collaborate on. So when you've got big ideas, sometimes it can kind of catch them off guard, or it's like a significant pivot. And sometimes those are good. Sometimes you need those. And I've lost pitches because the big picture went in a different direction than what I was aiming for. That's not something you can have a ton of control over, frankly. Like if their taste is slapstick and you're going dry dialogue, what can you do about it, right? But specific pitches that show you're paying attention, that show you're thoughtful, and you can yes and each other, establishes a creative relationship in that meeting, which is the ultimate goal of like, I like working with you. I have ideas. You have ideas. We can share those ideas and bounce back and forth and have fun doing it. That's the vibe we're looking for, right?
Yeah. I mean, probably one of the biggest cheat codes, I learned it actually from JJ Adler, who was on Jordan Brady's podcast and mentioned it, which if she ever hears this, she'll probably regret saying it.
Come on the show, JJ.
Giving it away because I think it's super effective. But she said when she gets on a call, she will usually come with like two different pitches, tonally different pitches on the same thing to just feel them out. Like, are you thinking this is more like he's in shock and he drops his drink, or more like he's in shock and screams? Like I could see both of them being really funny. One is like more subtle and visual, and one is like more dialogue driven and faster. And then she's already like trying to
locked and loaded
out a tone or a reaction or a response. She's testing things out to see if people, she's like literally like how you would, what do you call it when you test the ads out on Facebook?
A/B test.
Yeah. She's like A/B testing tonal pitches on a vibe check or on a call to see which
one they're
and so that's an opportunity, because I think a lot of people, especially when you're starting out in this industry, and especially like trying to get hired for work that you're in a competitive situation, you're just so afraid to pitch the wrong thing. And so the easy solution is just pitch multiple things, and but as like, oh, that, like I love that moment when the cheetah runs in.
Two minds. This is really fun. Like I had two different angles, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. It's kind of,
yeah. And I even would make it more casual. Like, okay, so the cheetah runs into the convenience store. Like, it'd be so funny, I thought, if like no one even notices. It's just a cheetah. It's like Zootopia world, and just go on, and it's just like, the annoying cheetah guy. Or were you guys picturing more like the cheetah comes in and everyone's like screaming and like jumping on the counters trying to get away from it? Right. I think both are really funny, but I could see them kind of feeling different. Is there something that you gravitate towards? And usually they won't have like an answer. They won't be like, oh, definitely the first.
But they will have a gut level reaction.
Yeah. Or they'll like, one of them will be like, one of the creatives will be like, well, I kind of thought like the first, like kind of just really leaving it dry and subtle is cool. And then someone else would be like, oh, I kind of pictured them like being afraid. And David Kwan, my first, I call him like the pitch whisperer. He's the guy that taught me how to pitch on commercials. His whole thing, and when we pitched, it would be on the speakerphone, and we wouldn't even see each other. And he was like I call him like the mute ninja, because he would hit the mute button right before I said anything. So that his whole thing was like, you want to give them a little nugget and have them discuss it. Like show that you're bringing new things for them to like think about.
And that's the point of the tiny pitches too. It's a similar sort of thing of like, get the conversation started rather than present something that is quote unquote fully formed.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I will, depending on vibes, throw out a little bit of process. right? Like the things that make me distinct, or maybe that they don't, see in other directors. And it's always kind of informed by the things that they've been excited about and the things that they're worried about, right? So if they're worried about performance, I talk about my acting experience. Or if they're worried about the technical stuff, maybe I'll reference a spot that I've done that has already done it, or, whatever it is,
Yeah.
But the process has to apply to the big picture questions that they have.
It's really, really helpful. And this is something that maybe not everyone has in the beginning, but is if you have a good wingman, if your EP or producer or someone is on the call with you. Because like I'll be like, there'll be something that's a perfect reference for like Hacks or something. And I'll be like, have you guys seen Hacks? It's I love the way that they light comedy or whatever. And then the EP might be like, oh, Oren's wife was on that show,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, really? Who does she play? So I think there'll be like, it's like you're not bragging, but that you're kind of setting up opportunities for people to just show how in this world you are and why you'd be like a natural fit to be hired for a job. There's one thing, I guess it goes without saying, we probably don't need to spend time on how you should not be thirsty. And I've had vibe checks with people. We have them with like DPs or production designers or something when we're deciding in between who to hire. But I've had people that we just had a cool, fun, casual conversation, talked about kids, talked about LA, talked about art, talked about projects, talked about everything. And then at the end, they'll be like, and just so you know, I'll make the budget work. Like anything you need. Like I think I'm your person. I would really, really, really want to work with you. And I'm like, I wish that last 5 seconds didn't happen. And it's hard, especially when you really want a job, to not be like, you're geniuses. I can't wait to work with you.
Right. I think that's where the personal connection helps, because you can talk about how relatable it is and how passionate you are about whatever the product may be as it relates to your life. And then you're not directing your thirstiness at them. You're pointing it at and highlighting the product and the way that you connect to it, which is another way of showing enthusiasm.
Yeah. I call it What Women Wanting. You know that movie?
The Mel Gibson film?
Yeah. What Women Want, -ing at the end. He goes and tries out all the feminine products that he's supposed to advertise for, and then he gets hit by lightning or something, and then he can hear what women want. But to me, that's like, I will be like, well, I don't use this dog food because I use some fancy weird dog food, but I will go get this dog food and give it to my dog and see what happens. And then when I'm on the call, I can be like, yeah, this dog food is awesome. Like, I love that they have the salmon flavor. My dog's allergic to chicken. And it, like, even though, like, I guess I just try to put myself in the shoes of the customer.
Yep.
Which is very different than like a Nike spot, which, I mean, obviously literally shoes, but like sometimes the work is more about of feeling than it is about a product.
I would say it almost always is, right? It's always about the feeling you get from using the product, right?
Yeah. I mean, unless it's like, well, yeah, sometimes like a Swiffer, there's a new Swiffer version out.
Sure. There's like more like, you want to see the spray come out of the thing, and
Yeah. But it is how you feel about like that. But there's layers. The one other thing I was going to ask you about is, I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast before, but there's this actor that I used to audition a lot. I'm just going to say his name because it's part of the story. But his name was Johnny Three Nuts, at least on LA Casting. Have I told you about this guy before?
I feel like I would remember, but keep going.
He's a really good commercial actor, but he does this thing where he comes in, to the callback, gives like an amazing performance. He's kind of got like that Jeff Goldblum-esque, like just rhythm and cadence.
You're just bringing up the hits here, bud.
Yeah. And you say, you're like, that was great. You do a couple takes and then you're like, so what's the deal with the name Johnny Three Nuts? And he's like, oh, it's a really great story, which I will tell you when we're on set together. And it always annoyed me a little bit, but also I've seen the less overt version of that. And I've seen even directors do that on calls, which is like, oh, when I'm on set, I love to do this. I love everyone to get like Jordan Brady's like, I love everyone to have to pass out gum after lunch or whatever, right?
I like very much,
which is cool. I don't know if that gets you the job, but like there's sometimes like, oh, I love hanging out with like taking the actors bowling before the night before we shoot or whatever. Like you.
Right. Well, so, I mean, that's a good example of you're explaining the how, not the what. Right. Like, passing out gum is fine. Oh, I love to like make sure that everyone's feeling really comfortable on set. And so, for instance, after lunch, I give everybody, a little bit of gum so that they're feeling fresh and we're all going to be talking close to each other. Right. Like that's the tweak. Right.
Yeah. But even is like, obviously this is after the what conversation, but do you ever do anything like, like I know this director, Nem, he has, owns a DeLorean, and it's like, yeah, of course I'll come to set in the DeLorean. And there's a little bit of like, oh, that would be cool to see that DeLorean, or
yeah.
I mean, this happens a lot of times with people that are married to celebrities. They will get jobs because someone will be like, oh, well, maybe we'll get to meet with their partner.
Sure.
So I don't know. Do you ever do anything like that where you like kind of tease up before you even have the job? Like when we're on set, we'll do this fun thing, or you can come. I love having the creative director next to me at the monitor. We can all throw out pitches.
I would say, I'm very collaborative, all of that sort of stuff. But I think it's always, I'm trying to tailor it to each different group, right? So like, there are some people where you're kind of like, oh yeah, they want to shoot in LA or they want to shoot in the Bahamas or whatever. And like, that's kind of part of it. Like that's the little nugget that, these people work in a city that's not LA or wherever. And like, it's a major perk of the job to get to travel somewhere cool, and they want to go somewhere tropical. Maybe they're somewhere cold or whatever it may be. That if you can suss that stuff out on a subliminal level, I think so. I think that my brand is a little bit more about expertise and process, and so I guess I just don't have a DeLorean to drive to set. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm fun because I'm fun to work with. I'm not fun outside of that, unfortunately. That's why I have a
well, I disagree. You're very fun.
No, I'm very fun. Yeah. But you get what I'm saying? Like
you order a very big pizza. But
it's not like, guys, trust me, my karaoke game is on point. Let's all do it together. I'm not that guy,
Yeah, I do know what you're saying, but I also think like as much as we are selling our creative genius and our experience, like our, craftsperson expertise, like there is a little bit of client services as well. And I'm not good at it.
Absolutely.
The like buying gifts for the agency. And we've heard, we have friends at a very good production company that they've been on the podcast before. And one of them told me that their catering is like, it's like being poolside at Nobu. Like literally people are bringing you little sushi things while you're on set. And I've heard a story of a director who was like, hey, come have dinner with me and Spike Jonze this Friday. I'm having some people over and let's talk about the project there, And there's, the types of things that get the client excited outside of it. And, like you said, sometimes we don't have the DeLorean to bring to set.
Yeah. I mean, I think my brand is that I'm nice. Do you know what I mean? Like to your point of like, oh, there's some directors who are really fun and some directors who have a ton of access and that's what they're selling. And I think that I'm a good time on set and I'm forthright and clear. And so I think I can I show that in my presentation style. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not calling myself Director X or something. Like I'm, and his work is awesome. Yeah, he's a very good director for sure. If you call yourself Director X, you should probably show up with a cool haircut and a cool outfit and whatever. You know what I mean? As a comedy dialogue director, I think I should be funny and charming on the call, and therefore maybe funny and charming at dinner, right? But I'm not the party guy or whatever.
Yeah. It's one of those things.
So when are you going to try being funny and charming, Oren?
Well, I'm not, but I have had jobs where I feel like I literally had a job where the producer on the pitch back call was like, that was the best treatment I have ever seen in an amazing presentation. And I did not get the job. And I'm 99% sure it's because the duo that got the job was like more fun party duo.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that I also pitched on this giant job last year that I didn't get against not Director X, but a very Director X-like director. that was they loved everything I did, and I showed them a lot of the how. I did all my 3D renders and test videos and everything. And a lot of the what too, in my opinion, but they were like, oh, he came with just so much swagger, so much style, and such a strong point of view.
Well, and that's why I think the what's the one thing question, leading with that, sets the tone for everything else, right?
Yeah. Yep. Well, cool. Well, congrats. I mean, I know this past vibe check led to a job of an avail check or a booking check, whatever you call them. But that's exciting. Congrats. And
Thanks.
And we are curious to hear your all thoughts on what you guys do in these meeting calls to show people that they should hire you to work with them.
Yeah, awesome. If you have questions about like what you'd like for us to cover, let us know, right? Because I think that we're trying to just sort of, as our philosophies and techniques sort of evolve, I think like finding things to focus on, I think would be helpful. So like if you're like, I want more about this or that or those different aspects, I think that helps focus us on what we're looking to talk about more on the show.
Yeah. Do you have a minute to endorse something?
I do.
Unpaid endorsements.
Okay, so I've got 2 endorsements. One is kind of big picture. I think I've talked to you about how, maybe off the mic, maybe on, I love going to like, when I'm on a travel job, I love going to like the cool indie movie theater in that city, like as a way to kind of just experience a little bit of film culture outside of Los Angeles. I think finding a ritual or two when you're on travel jobs is a really great way to ground you and help you explore the city on your own terms in a kind of finite way. Where we don't have that much free time, for the most part. We're working basically 90% of the time that we're not sleeping, right? But, having a thing, I think is really helpful, especially as our jobs are, out of town a lot. So that's one. Oren, do you have anything? What do you do?
I mean, I sleep mainly.
Yeah.
Trying to find some food. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, okay, like, I want to find the coffee shop. I'm going to look up the coffee shop that I like that's near my hotel. I'm going to do a little bit of research, and then that's going to be my coffee shop for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
He's an example of that,
For the last couple of years, I've been doing what every other person my age is doing, which is like, I'm trying to walk a lot,
Sure.
Get those 10,000 steps in. So that's kind of my main thing when I get to a hotel is like, hey, where can I, where it's like a 2-mile walk I can do.
2-mile walk. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And then my other endorsement as summer winds on is Johnny Pops. Have you ever had a Johnny Pops popsicle?
No.
It's a brand of popsicle. It's in most grocery stores, but specifically they have a watermelon one that is like light green at the tip and red at the tip and then light green at the base. And so it looks like a watermelon and it's watermelon flavored. And it is easily the best straight up popsicle I've ever had in my life. I love them so much. They're really cute. They're delicious. They're not that bad for you. I'm not counting like a creamsicle or a fudgesicle or a drumstick or any other confection, but as a straight up popsicle, like juice and water, Johnny Pops. Love them.
And no seeds in theirs?
No seeds.
No watermelon seeds.
Yeah.
Do you know, I just learned recently, it's crazy how many things I learned from my 5-year-old son.
Yeah.
But I just learned recently that bananas have seeds and they're in the banana.
Yeah.
But the bananas we eat are seedless. And the way I was like, well, how do you make seedless bananas if there's no seeds? That basically all the bananas that we eat are cloned and grafted off of like other existing banana trees. They're not planted.
There's some internet rhetoric about like there's extinct bananas that they brought back that are supposed to taste better, but that don't ship as well. I think that our bananas do have seeds, but they're so small that we just bite through them. Whereas I think they used to be kind of like big and gross.
Yeah. And same with oranges. It's like to make a seedless orange tree, you don't just, I used to think you breed them to have very few seeds and then use those seeds. But at some point, these oranges truly are seedless.
You propagate them.
Yeah. You have to clone them. And so I thought that's crazy. But that is not my unpaid endorsement. My unpaid endorsement is two tidbits I just heard on a different podcast today. I'm talking about a bad unpaid endorsement. I was listening to the Hacks episode of Script Notes. They had Paul Downs and Lucia Agnello, who are the showrunners, creators, writers, directors, and stars. I mean, Paul has a big part. Lucia has one cameo in the whole series. And they said two really interesting things. Did you listen to the episode? Do you listen to Script Notes?
Sometimes, yeah.
So they're a duo. They're a writing duo, and the way they write an episode of the show is they have the whole outline, right? So they pretty much know what each scene is going to be, and they put like a timer on for 12 minutes, and they each write the same scene together, and then they trade the scripts, and they highlight what they love about the other person's scene. But if you don't have a way into the scene, if you don't have a great joke or whatever, there's not a ton of pressure because you're hoping the other person has it. And if you guys all said, if you both write the same joke, then either it's a great joke, it's like perfect for the scene, or it's a bad joke because it's the first obvious joke you thought of. But I just loved that idea of a process. Like, I love I think we've heard of people like writing the same thing and cross-referencing, but I love the introduction of a timer and doing it like on a per scene basis.
Yeah.
I think usually you either hear people sitting, like one person's pacing in the room while someone else is typing, or you split up the scenes. But I love write the same scene. So that was one thing I love. And the other thing they talked about, which actually Aaron Sorkin touches on this in his masterclass, but they called it competency porn. And it's when you just see someone on screen that is just really good at their job.
Sure. Did you ever watch Battlestar Galactica?
I did not.
It's great. It was great, especially its first couple of seasons. But it was all just people in dire situations being awesome at their job. It was so fun.
Yeah. And I loved that, just that term, competency porn. And just as a reminder, how satisfying it is to see someone doing something really well. I mean, you don't want to have like a 10-minute scene about like how heart ventricles work or whatever. But if you have a doctor, that's why we love the doctor shows, right? Like we're not absorbing what they're doing on the pit, but we love that they're doing it and they're so good at it. Anyhow, so that was the latest episode of Script Notes. It's with Paul Downs and Lucia Agnello. But if you just want to take away the term competency porn, that might be enough of an endorsement.
100%. Well, if you have any questions for us, thoughts, concerns, all that stuff, you can email us at justshootapod@gmail.com or Instagram us, I guess, at justshootapod, DM us, and you can follow me at Mr. Matt-efasto across all social media.
And I'm on Instagram at @okaplan, and our editor is Kevin Oye. Our social media is done by Lily Bouvier. Our producer is Tyler Small, and you're listening to music from the Free Music Archive and the Artist Jazar, and we will catch you next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Goodbye.